Okay, I'd like to call this meeting.
Hold on. Before Ezra loses his shit, have you started the recording?
I just started the recording.
That is
Come on, Phil. 4 months. I should be able to remember this by now. So, can I call this meeting to order this September 8th, 2021, 10:21 p.m. I'd like to acknowledge that the offices of the Students' Union of Wilfrid Laurier University are on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Neutrals people. First, can we get to, give me 1 moment. Can we get to any regrets? So I've received one regret from Director McCarthy. He is unfortunately on leave in an area that has no reception, but he'll be returning on Friday, so we can get him caught up. Director May is not present and she has not sent me any regrets, so that is very unfortunate. Next, can we have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Motion by Director Del Giudice, seconded by Director Shandok. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Nope.
Any discussion of matter? Is there none? All those in favor, Director Bothwell?
I approve.
Director Shandok? Director Shandok? Okay.
I approve.
Oh, thank you. Director Del Giudice?
I approve.
Director May? Oh, sorry, my God, forgot that she's not here. Director Symington?
I approve.
Director Vale?
I approve.
And Vice Chair Sneedy?
I approve.
The motion passes unanimous consent. Next, moving on to conflict of interest. Is there any conflict of interest to declare? Given the discussion tonight will be about the having fall by-election. Okay, as there are, I see none. Next, we can move on to approval of the consent agenda. This is the monitoring report from the previous meeting in August 26th. So this is just the inclusion of the fixed appendix for Appendix G. Yes, Director Vale.
Yeah, just I guess a point of clarity. I believe can't remember off the top of my head. I don't have my notes here handy, but it wasn't all of them, and I believe we're going to need a motion to basically lift them from the table since they were tabled, and then so you'll need two motions of motion to lift them from the table, and then a motion to approve the additional new reports that weren't previously approved.
Perfect. Okay, can I get a motion on the table to lift the monitoring reports off the table and then approve them with the amended appendices? Motion by assuming Director Vale, seconded by Director Shanto. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? As seeing none, all those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shando,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Okay, perfect. Next, moving on to comments of the chair of the board and CGO. So the posting for the board secretary has been made and will close on September 19th. So we're going to be using the next basically a week and a half to really market and push for this. So if you have any contacts within your own community, please reach out and let them know about this opportunity. We'll also be doing it during O Week, which will be, I suppose, a future discussion later today. I also have updates on behalf of the board social media ad hoc committee. So they have been hard at work trying to create materials for the upcoming by-election, as well as director introductions, to line up with the beginning of the school term, so people can hopefully know who we are and what we do. And I just sent an email to as well. A lovely graphic created by our very own Director Bothwell regarding a giveaway that will be part of like our new Instagram followings to help hopefully garner some more attention during our boothing in the Bradford and Waterloo campus tomorrow at the Get Involved Fair. And the winner of the raffle or the new from like new users will be a $50 Will's gift card. Since this is something that has to pertain to like the board as a whole, I thought it'd be very prudent to bring it to the board's attention. So I guess if everyone had saw it, can I just get a general consensus that this is in the direction which the board feels is okay with? Can I get some thumbs up, I suppose? Okay, perfect. Okay, that concludes my comments. Oh, sorry, yes, I see a hand up, Director Vale.
Yeah, just a point of clarity regarding the board secretary in terms of the hiring. Like, what are your plans? Are you looking to reconstitute basically the ad hoc committee that did the interviewing before and just minus those who have resigned from the board, or
Precisely,
in-
yeah, that's
okay.
the plan. So
simplest?
once we get the a number of applications in, the idea is to just simply since the ad hoc committee was struck to do the hiring for the board secretary, I think it's still prudent within the scope of that committee that since the board secretary is no longer there, the committee can be refounded. And this time with since Director Iqbal is no longer with us on the board, or we can have Director May sit on the committee as a member, as a representative for the Brantford campus. That also, actually, that also reminds me, there was a amendment to the agenda that I forgot to make, so I will now have to motion it. I guess perfect timing to, oh, sorry, yes. Executive Director Champagne.
I'm just curious, does Director May know that you want to put her on that committee?
No, but the motion I'm gonna make is for a different thing.
Okay.
So yeah, if that's all right. Fortunately, Director May, not too sure if she is coming or not. So I suppose this will have to be many follow-up communications with her after this meeting is done. But before I go into the motion to amend the agenda, does anyone else have any questions? Okay, can I have a motion to amend the agenda to also include committee elections for the social media, the ad hoc social media committee, since Director, I believe Loachi was a member on it, and now that committee is missing one member. So motion by Director Shandok, seconded by Director Daljudice. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? All those, as I see none, all those in favor, Director Bothwell.
Approve. I approve.
Thank you. Director Shandok,
I approve.
Director Daljudice,
I approve.
Director Singleton,
I approve.
Director Vale.
I approve, but the only comment I'd offer is this is, as an emergency meeting, it's more focused on the by-election rather than the sort of regular business, but I mean,
Yeah,
I'll still
the
approve, but
only
that's just more of a
purposes why is
general.
because the social media committee is the purpose is they're creating content for the election. So that's why I want to make
Fair
sure
enough,
to
yep.
get the final member on there. And but I do appreciate the comment about the clarification of the board governance. And then Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Thank you. The motion passed unanimous consent, so we'll put that at the end of the agenda there. Now moving on to comments to the President and CEO.
Hi, apologies, my camera's off. I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't have any comments for this evening, other than Andrew, I believe I sent you the updated appendix. I wasn't sure if that had been received. Otherwise, nothing as of this moment.
Oh, perfect. The update the update appendix were put into the mine report, so that is now all set here. Other than that, thank you, President Yamloff. Now, next, moving on to the comments of the Executive Director and COO.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say to add to this particular meeting, but welcome back to fall 2021, everybody.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Executive Director and CEO Champagne. Okay, now moving on to the real meat of the discussion tonight. So the fall by-election CRO discussion. So I hope that everyone had a chance to read the briefing notes considerable effort. I'd like to give applause to our executive director for helping put this together and reaching out to many of the resources across campuses, see how best the board can navigate through this decision. So first of all, we had to decide whether or not the board would like to hire a CRO for the Elections Appeals Committee, and as well as for someone to analyze and then approve of the elections policies, then we can actually get the fall election underway. Option one, as a quick summary, is that we just simply hire a new CRO as if this was a regular election. The option two is that we can designate a board member as a delegate as per our policy manual, who will be who will serve as effectively the CRO for the duration of this specific special election. So I guess I'll open up the floor to questions and see where the board kind of like leans towards which decision. Yes, Director Vale.
Yeah, so in my view, I tend to probably lean towards more option two, because I don't feel it's realistic to be, we can run a competition for the through the appropriate hiring process in a short amount of time. But having said that, I think that's really contingent on, do we have any directors here who would even be interested in serving as CRO? Because if not, then I think then really our only option is to go with number one, and so it kind of negates option two. So I guess maybe that's maybe a starting point as well, is to see if any directors here would have any interest at all.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I think that's a very important question. I have some comments to make, but I'll give it the floor, I guess, to Director Delducci.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I'm also leaning towards option number two, simply because we don't have that many resources to do much hiring at this point, and this is a pretty time-sensitive matter. So I definitely am leaning towards option two.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone else have any other comments? Yes, Director Symington.
I thought Brandon and Frankie hit the nail on the head there. They basically said everything I thought that needed to be said, and option two is definitely what I was leaning towards, and their reasons they brought up are why. So I'm on that boat.
Okay, perfect. I guess the general consensus so far from what I'm hearing is that option two is the way the board would like to go. Okay, just as for the record, Director Bothwell is experiencing some technical difficulties, which is why she left the meeting, but she'll be joining back shortly. If that's the case, then I guess a very excellent question will be which directors here would be interested in performing the role. I will say that I think it is in the best interest that any directors who are planning to run for election in the January general meeting would probably not be the best person to serve as a CRO delegate in this capacity, just for to avoid any conflict of interest or transparency accountability issues. That is the recommendation that I would make to the board based on that and other conversations that I had. So I guess who here would be interested in performing such a role? Anyone? I would like to avoid having option one due to the conversation that we just had here. Executive Director Champagne. Okay, Victoria nominates Frankie. I guess this is a good start for conversation. Director Delducci, would you be interested in serving as the delegate CRO?
The only concern I have, interest, I do plan on running in January. Sure.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, Director Delducci. Yeah, I think it's a kind of like cutting in and out.
Better?
Yeah, much better now.
So the only difficulty with that is I do plan on running again January. So like fear of conflict of interest, but nobody else wants to.
Okay, I still have a hard time hearing, but I am assuming that because you're running for election, this is the conflict of interest that you're trying to avoid. And you only take the role if there is no other option, correct? Okay, I'm assuming that that's what you're saying for the record. Okay, Director Symington, would you be interested in such a role?
I definitely think it would be a cool experience to get under my belt. With that said, I do plan on running for president this January, so I feel like the conflict of interest is definitely there for me. So I think I fall into the same boat as Frankie on this one.
Yeah. Executive Director Champagne.
I just have a quick question. What exactly is the conflict of interest if you guys are choosing to run in January versus being the chief returning officer for simply the by-election? Because that's what this is, right? Simply
Yeah.
for the by-election. I'm just curious what the actual conflict of interest is.
I guess it was in terms of just, I'm trying to avoid a similar situation as what happened in the Alex Hermosa situation, where in case like, someone gets nominated on the board and then that board then chooses the next CRO, and then this kind of snowball effect. But I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I
if
think I
this
get it.
is-
Yep.
But if the consensus of the board is that the risk is low in this case, because we are just simply choosing directors, right? To serve the remainder of the term and not for like, the presidency or anything of that nature, then I think we could potentially lift that conflict of interest. Yes, Director Vale.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion, I don't think there is a conflict of interest because you're dealing with two different elections here. You're also dealing with two different really sets of election policies. In other words, I mean, I'm not going to presuppose what we as a board may do or not do, but I would tend to think that the policy we're probably presumptuously going to go with for this by-election is tending to be a little bit more along the lines of what the election that we, all of us here went through last year. And that the new election that might be coming up, I mean, who knows what that's going to be. I think it's going to be quite different. So, but and again, they're two very different things in my view. So I don't really think that that sort of risk exists other than maybe optics. But having said that, I do think as we're doing this sort of in an open session here in a recorded and transparent, very much transparent environment, I don't think that, I think that in many ways will negate sort of the optics or perceived notions of any of that as well.
Okay. Does anyone have any other follow-ups, or is this kind of what the consensus of the board is, that we deem that this to be a satisfactory mitigation of the conflict of interest risk that I have described earlier? Guess silence is indifference then, suppose.
Can you get someone else out of the board like last year? I think we had someone named Nidhi, right?
Yeah, but that's of someone that we hired, so that would be option one, which unfortunately would take time and a lot of paperwork to do. So I'm just gonna throw this out just to kind of get the discussion, because I am aware of the time. Going back to the first nomination, Director Del Giudice, would you stand for this role, given that our discussion is that the conflict of interest for running in the January election is deemed to be, mitigated per se?
Yeah, considering that that conflict of interest is mitigated, sure.
Okay. Given that, does anyone have is there any other interest in this role? Okay, then I guess then can I get a motion on table for the board to appoint for the CRO delegate on behalf of the board, Director Del Giudice. Yes, Director Del Giudice. Motion by Director Vale.
Oh, no, I wasn't. That was,
Oh,
I had my
sorry.
hand up a sec.
Oh,
No, I was just gonna, I think you missed Director Symington. I think is
oh,
Director
sorry.
Chan Hoke. So I don't know if he's interested or not, but I just thought in,
My apologies,
interest
yes,
of transparency and fairness
that's-
here, we should make sure, confirm with
Sorry,
him.
my
I think
apologies.
we
I'm
know
getting
that.
my still in mind.
I think we went over me as the nomination.
Would you like to be nominated for this process?
Yeah, if Frankie's down to do it, I definitely appreciate that because I know he is a very busy man. And I do consider myself to be very busy, and I don't know if I could take it on. I would if it did come down to it, but if Francesco is willing and able, then I would definitely be happy to let him do it.
So I guess that also brings a great question to Director LGT. Are you willing and able to perform this role?
What is the time commitment exactly of the CRO?
The time commitment, so the first bit will be setting up the elections. Well, actually, no, the first would be reviewing the elections policy together with the CGO, which would be myself, right? That would be about the same length of time as I would say like a long DIC committee, if that makes sense with that experience. And then it would be basically helping the CGO run the elections. And when we run the elections, just taking care of like, making sure that the nomination forms are in order and that the candidates don't have any real demerit points, essentially speaking. But this role is not solely on their own. This is in conjunction with the chair and CGO of the board. Okay, so for the record, Executive Director Champagne said that there are complications with this, not least being that the board member being compensated for the organization, which goes against the governing documents. Added to the abbreviated election period, what that compensation would be. So of course, this does bring in some questions because the CRO is normally given an honorarium for that thought. So yeah, Director Vale.
Yeah, and I think the executive director, that was sort of the next piece I was going to kind of get at here is I think so. I think there's two questions here. So the one is, and I don't want to come across the wrong way here, but would the director del judice be willing to do this unpaid?
Yeah, that's another good question.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I feel like given like the time commitment, I feel like he deserves an honorarium. No? Like,
Yeah, I
if
would say,
mayor
yeah.
doesn't get an
Yeah,
honorarium.
if we don't have the money, can't just the board pay them, or we can pay Jen? How much do they usually pay them?
Phil, would you mind just explaining what you are getting at, just to streamline this conversation in case we are getting off track?
No. I am not suggesting that the interim CRO not be compensated for their work. What I'm just suggesting is that there's just complicated factors that the board would have to further decide on. And then if he decides to take on that role of CRO, should he step back from official board duties during the election period and then step back up once the election period's over? Again, I'm not suggesting that, but these are all things that would probably need to be looked at. They don't necessarily need to be looked at today. But there are definitely things to be considered.
With that said, though, I think that's a good idea given the fact that like we don't like Francesco, like he's still a student and we don't want him to be overwhelmed. So I think relieving him of board duties during that time would be a very good idea. Because like I said, like we do have a lot going on in general. And I think that's a good way to go about it personally. I'm not sure if anyone would disagree or agree, but that's my thoughts on the situation.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give it to Director Vale since I know he's been waiting patiently.
Yeah, so I have two schools of thought, and I get that there is a significant degree of sort of time commitment in this. So on one hand, I do feel like there should be some sort of an honorarium piece, but I'm trying to. So I think if that was the case, then probably I would tend to probably kind of agree with Director Symington here that maybe assuming, and again, this is going to be what Director Del Judice is like comfortable. Like if he's not comfortable with any of this, like we don't want to impose this on him kind of thing either, for lack of better words. Like, and then, but so he can always like step back, like from not wanting to take this nomination, I guess, depending on what we sort of decide, come to terms here. But I think maybe taking we sort of approve like a formal like leave of absence during the duration of the election period, which being a short period may not be a significant issue.
Yeah.
But
one question about that is that if we do leave, if Director Del Judice does step back, then the board would be effectively operating at 8, and I don't know if that is allowed within the Constitution, right?
So
Um,
eight's the minimum, like at the lowest you can go.
Lowest you can go. So that means that.
But he's
but
still
ten-
technically,
Yeah.
I believe he technically still is a member of the board though.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's just that
So-
he won't, if he does come to board meetings, he will not be operating as a director. He'll just be as a CRO
Yeah,
giving updates
But
to the chair.
so, but legally, he's still a director though of
Oh,
the
no,
corporation.
absolutely. It's
So
just.
that's where it becomes into play is so as
Mhm.
the previous director who resigned, they officially resigned. This is just a leave of absence. So, but so in effect, he's not vacating his office or any.
Mhm.
So his office as a director of the corporation still, in law, would exist. So
there's two.
therefore,
so
we're
there's
still
two-
at 9 directors.
Yeah, so there's two options basically. So it's just in terms of like the effectiveness of the vote, right? Like technically speaking, right now, for instance, we're operating as 8 directors because Director May is not present, right? So
9 because you're a director too.
oh. Yes, 9, but we're effectively at 8 because Director May is not here. So
And then quorum is 2/3 of the then present.
okay. So no, these are very good thoughts to have. I'm gonna ask this question to the executive director. Is it possible that if Director Del Giudice were to stand for the position as being the board delegate CRO, that we can have a more formal document structure that can be presented to the board after this meeting? That would kind of outline what's the
Short answer is absolutely.
Yeah, but would that have to be then approved by the board, or could we just simply have it as in effect, and the board kind of agrees that whatever the results of this document is what the structure is?
I feel as though if the board can kind of give the authority to both Francesco and say you, for example,
Mhm.
to be that authority that we come to a proper agreement that satisfies the board's need, you shouldn't necessarily need to bring it back to the board for further discussion and a vote.
Mhm.
But
I'm thinking
I'll take a
about
look.
it in
I'll take a look
terms
at Director
of,
Vale, who is all about the formalities. So
Okay, you should take it away, Director. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Like, I think the reality is, and I'm sure a lot of us are feeling the same way. Like, I think we've discussed this election probably, I don't know how many meetings at this point. I think we really need to get kind of the ball rolling here. So I'm opinion, maybe we kind of give sort of some authority to, yourself as chairman, Chairman Dang, and then presumptuously Director Del Giudice as like the CRO, and then obviously the executive director and president kind of work together. And I think really more or less just keep bringing information item back to the board. So really for that transparency sake, given that we are do have a director in that role, like I think really just more the transparency piece that would sort of cover it.
Okay, perfect. So I think that we had a great discussion on this. I think that we've come to a conclusion. So I'm gonna have a motion again for the motion to go with option 2 to have a board delegate CRO that will be claimed by Director Del Giudice, and to give authority to the chair of the board CGO as well as the CRO delegate to determine what the formal structure of that in relating to the structure of the board while that director is serving as the CRO delegate, if that makes sense. Motion by Director Shandok, seconded by Director Vale. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? As I see none, all those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
thank you. Director Shandok,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
Abstain.
thank you. Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Motion passes 5-0 to 1. As promised, myself, the executive director, and the our CRO Del Giudice will send the board a more formal document specifically detailing what the structure of how this plan will operate relating to the Elections Appeal Committee and Director Del Giudice's role on the board in the following month. Moving on to our next discussion of fall by-election and voting dates. So there are 3 options to go briefly. So we can either have an early election, a medium-sized election, and a late election. So an early election will end on the 23rd. is my recommendation that this is not the best plan since it doesn't give the board effectively enough time to really formulate a plan because that literally is 15 days from today. The second choice, which is a much more moderate choice, is to end it basically at the end of the month on September 30th. And an alternative choice is to give us the most amount of time, which is to end the election on October 7th, which is right before reading week, which might be not a bad idea since, some students, once they do that, then they can go on vacations. This might be kind of like the nice, exciting way to end off their first kind of half semester of school in the fall term. But I'm going to open the floor now for discussion. Yes, Director Vale.
Yeah, so my thinking is I tend to like option 3. I think that it's going to help. It'll give a lot of sort of lead time for both obviously our CRO, yourself as chair, and sort of the operational resources, right, who might be involved in marketing or whatever activities like in the background, because I'm cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of sort of the activities kind of going on in the background right now, both board committee work and just other stuff, and then probably presumptuously on the operational side with the O week.
Yeah.
So I think I think having that little extra time, as well as for students, it'll help really ensure that students are able to, one, be informed that there is an election and have adequate time and whatnot. So I think, because at the end of the day, I think my view is we don't want to have to do this again or to come back to the board and we don't have enough people or we couldn't get this done successfully. I think we want to set this up for success from now.
And, just before I go to Director Del Giudice, I think this is a good opportunity to really to give some credit to the operations team, because I know that they've been very much helping us with the elections, and I know that for us it is our main priority, but for them a week is their main priority. So I really have to give credit due to the time that they put in to help us set everything up. Next, going back to you, Director Del Giudice.
Yeah, I agree with Director Vale on this. I think we should go with option 3, mainly because while it is cutting really close to reading week, and we do risk those students, I guess, checking out and not really focusing on the election by that time, we also risk not reaching quorum if we do it too quickly. I think we have ample time to prepare for option 3, ample time to get the word out. So I think that's the best option.
Okay, just for the record, in the comment section, Director Bothwell is agreeing to option 3. Okay, so I think that the board is, if I'm not mistaken, very much leaning towards this state. So just to kind of speed things along, can I get a motion on the table to confirm the election date for October 7th, 2021 for the fall special by-election. Motion by Director Del Giudice, seconded by Director Vale. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor? Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shando,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director Sewington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sini.
I approve.
Perfect. Next, moving on to the next part of that briefing. So we can decide to either have only 1 day for voting. So that would be the based on the above decision to be just solely on September 7th, or sorry, October 7th. We can have it be on October 6th and 7th, or we can have the third option, which is 3 voting days. That'll be the 5th, 6th, and the 7th. Some just things to keep in mind. So right now, so we do have the CRO, which is amazing, but we do not have any normal volunteers that we would normally have to help run the booth. So the current situation is that we can either try to hire a couple volunteers within the couple months, which will allow us to have the more voting days, to be more practical, or directors ourselves will have to mandate, so that's just some food for thought before we decide on which option to go with. Opening the floor for discussion, Director Vale.
Yeah, I think 3 voting days is best. I think that we do have time on our side, both to look at getting volunteers and as well as to plan for 3. I think really my thinking with this election is that we want to do this once. We don't want to have to go back and reopen this up or deal with the not reaching quorum, because the reality is it was quite close last time. And we don't, in this past election, I think we want to really ensure that we're able to really get a great turnout so that we can get this election over with. And so my thinking is 3 is probably going to be the best, because it'll allow students that who may not know that first day to become aware.
Sounds good. Director Del Giudice.
Yeah, so while I echo the statements of Director Vale that we don't want this to happen again, we want just to get this over and done with. My concern is that we don't have enough volunteers to help out with 3 days. And that's my only thing. So I'm gonna go with 2 voting days, mainly because I think that's within our means for the resources that we have.
I'll have a quick question to the executive director. Do you think it is even possible or even prudent to suggest that the board is able to get some volunteers to help with this process?
What specific, I'm not really sure I understand the nature of your question. Like, are you asking me whether the board has the ability to recruit volunteers, or?
Yeah, that section, because I know that we usually have volunteers, but I believe that they're more under the jurisdiction of the broader, like.
Well,
election.
we've had election volunteers before. The
Mhm.
CRO kind of oversees them.
Yeah.
And I know that he's well connected within the community. And I happen to know there are some residents like Don sitting in this room
Mhm.
with us tonight that can whip
Yes.
some of their folks into shape. So I think that there's definitely an opportunity for a volunteer base to be built up. But
Mhm.
you never know, right? This is kind of the new world order. Students are back on campus for the first time in a long time. So who knows what the appetite for that type of stuff will be.
I'll tell you, some of them have a big appetite for the Laurier experience. So and I think that's a very encouraging thought. Yes, Director Symington.
For those of us reaching out to, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
For those of us reaching out to our first year students, how would you like us to frame this opportunity for volunteering, and like what info should be provided, where should they go in the event that they do want to volunteer?
I think that, so I guess my point is that this is a bit too close for comfort to, we could possibly mention it for those of us who are going to be in to get involved there, right? But I think that what would be much more prudent is I spend a meeting or 2 with the CRO delegate to plan out approximately how many volunteers do you think we need. We can work with, we can try to work with the operations team to search up for what like previous materials there were in terms of like anything we have left over from previous elections. And then after that, we can, I guess, to answer the main meat of the question, advertise it as a way to get involved with the students union in a really interesting way, you know, build up some sort of like, I guess public speaking skills or involvement skills. I'm not too sure if I have the right words to describe the experience right now, but I'm definitely sure we can get House Counsel too as well to like help us advertise that. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question, Director Symington.
Yeah, no, we're good. I don't think I realized like the fact that was a little bit of a premature.
No problem, but great to hear the like the forward thinking mindset we have here. Director Vale.
Yeah, I guess just one comment, and I don't think we maybe touched on this really too much, but I guess that the reality that I think is, CRO designate that Director Del Giudice is, I guess, really is going to have to oversee the multi-campus aspect. So without like a DRO as well. So we'll definitely probably need that. They'll have to kind of oversee probably both campuses and have like volunteers in that too.
Yeah. And in that capacity, that is where I'm going to do everything I can do to assist this CRO in that regard. Some quick updates I've already, through, the president, Jamalov reached out to, I believe, was the position, the VP of Clubs and Associations on the Brantford side. And he's extremely helpful in terms of like reaching out to the Brantford students and has a great network. So I'm not too concerned about that in terms of really like, I suppose, policing. I don't know if that's the right word, or like making sure that there's no demerits. I think that this will be a online election, if I'm not mistaken. So most of our events are gonna be online. That will probably make it a lot easier since the CRO doesn't have to physically be on the Bradford campus to like make sure that there's no like demerits occurring. Yes, Director Vale.
Sorry, and I don't want to. I want to keep this like I don't want to get belabored here. I mean, it's a late meeting, so everyone
Uh-huh.
wants it going. But the one thing, and I'm maybe having a senile moment here, but because I don't have the minutes, the benefit of the minutes here. But did we approve the elections policy last time? Because
We
I
did
turned it.
not.
We didn't, because I don't think it was on this agenda, correct?
No, because I believe that the discussion was that first we had to even decide what the CRO who would be. Then they will review the elections policy, and then that would be then sent back to the board to be approved. If that makes
So
sense.
we'll have to
right?
approve the elections policy next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah,
But then,
or another
but
emergency
so
meeting to be very quick, like just in and out, that type of situation.
so I guess when do we officially declare the election? Because like under the option 3 we approved, technically it would start tomorrow, like the period.
Mhm.
But the problem is we can't start that without an
No,
elections policy in place.
that's a very good question. I guess then in that case, we'll have to start on the 13th then. And then just shift it down, so then it
And
ends
have an
on the 8th.
emergency meeting quickly, like a
have-
quick, maybe 10, 15
exactly,
minute
On
or,
either Friday or on the weekend, just a very quick one, just to get in. And this is where I will be very much working directly with the CROs, and this process is as quick and painless as possible to go through everything. And then I believe then that we can on the, I guess, whatever emergency, the 10th, 11th, or 12th, we can finalize and say with confidence if it is in person or virtual. But so far, let's just state it's a virtual one.
thanks.
Yeah, and I think Director Bothel's comments is also, very important too as well, that the purpose for tomorrow is just to get people interested in joining the board. I think the semantics of how to get involved is for these first year students a little less important about how specifically will happen, but the fact that it will happen and we know the date, I guess, October 7th. So, right. And that is sufficient for the 15-day period of contract constitution. So does that answer your question there?
Yeah, no, and it does, and I think that's a good idea. We still promote it tomorrow. It's really just the
Mhm.
semantics, like the legality
ab-
aspect of that
absolutely.
that window.
And that's
That's all.
why everything here, at least in my mind, we're basically in the domino right now. So everything will be moving very quickly. So I'll be reaching out to everyone to have a very quick very good question. I think it's okay for us to state that an election is happening because we know it's happening and we know what the date is. And then on Monday, we can reach out for more information. Like people can reach out for more information. Director Vale.
Yeah, like I don't think, like I think we can still. I think probably the prudent thing to do is to officially I guess declare it probably like the Monday or as soon as we get this like that emergency meeting just to approve the policy.
Yeah,
It's probably, but regardless, I think with the option 3 we have well enough time to so it's not the end of the world.
We can have a good week and a half. So my idea would be maybe like on the 23rd per se, all nomination package, and we give a week for the students to campaign or get involved in events on behalf of us. And then the final week, after the Monday, they just vote for 3 days. If we did decide to go with the 3-day option, 2 days if we decide to go with the 2-day option. Is that thing sufficient for everyone? Okay, perfect. So I'm just not trying to rush through these questions. I'm just keeping emphasis on the time. Don't want to keep it on too late. So going back to it. So I think that given our discussion comments from Executive Director Champagne, that the board is able to hire volunteers on behalf of the CRO. We should we should, if we are able to put some elbow grease on all of our ends to get some volunteers going. In that case, would the recommendation still be about the board to go with these 2 days or the 3 days? Is Director Bothwell?
I definitely recommend that we go for the 3 days versus the 2.
Okay. Director Vale.
If Director Bothwell's making that a motion, I'll second that. Or I can
Okay.
move a motion.
Okay. I suppose then you can make the motion. Or I can have the motion there. Motion for the September special by-election to be 3 voting days long. For specifically the dates of October 5th, 6th, and 7th. Based on the previous discussion. Motion by, yes, Director Bothwell, since you mentioned it. Seconded by Director Shando. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? Okay, all those in favor, Director Bothwell.
I approve.
Thank you, Director Shando.
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director Symington,
Approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Seavey.
I approve.
Okay, perfect. Motion passed unanimous consent. Finally, we're going to our final briefing note for the by-election. This is the voting system options. So very, very brief. We have 2 options. Number 1 is to do basically what we normally do, which is a ranked ballot system, but this will be an extensive financial cost, which is $2,500, or we can use the first past the post style election system. And this option will only be $500. And it is a new system that has not been tested by ICT, so I would like to make that on the record compared to the old system, but it would be very much sufficient for the type of election that we are performing. Open the floor to questions. Director Vale.
Yeah, I want to keep this brief here to keep moving it along, but I guess the one thing, like I personally, I think option 2, assuming, and then I would not presume there'd be some testing, we do testing or there that like, okay, make sure it's okay. And I see you're not it. The second part of that is the reality is this election, I think, is a bit intricate in the sense, I guess, that you have to have at least one candidate elected from the Brantford campus to have like the 2, but then the other 2 technically could be either campus. So I guess, how do we kind of, do we have like sort of 2 different races then, or how would that sort of, like in terms of the system, like with this, the first past the post, would that be able to?
I guess what we'll have is that if, let's say, we get only, this is was thinking for record more off the top of the head. If we get only 1 Brantford director, well, congratulations, or claim to the board. If we get multiple, which I'm very much striving and hoping to do so, we can basically just run it as a normal race. And if, let's say, by the off chance that you know, of all the people who ran, like, it should not be impossible that if all the people who ran and there's multiple Brantford directors, that none of them are gonna win, right? But if that does happen, I'm supposing we can do some manual, like, distribution of votes, but that's a very much off the top of the head situation there, but I don't think that this should be an issue. So I guess, long story short, only 1 Brantford director, then there'll be just 2 separate elections. If there is multiple Brantford directors who are on the ballot, then normal first past the post election all around. Does that answer your question, Dr. Vale? Okay, excellent. Director Del Giudice, I saw your hand was up before, if I'm not mistaken.
Director Vale addressed my question. I was just concerned about testing the system before going straight to an election, because I realize option 2 hasn't been used before in an election. But
yeah,
that question was answered. I understand it will be tested. So
okay, no, absolutely. And as CRO, you're going to be with me, the Elections Appeal Committee, to, like, to view the testing to make sure that this system does actually work. I think the testing process should be very relatively easy since it's an estimated 1 day work from ICT, so not, should be very quick to send back to board an update on that if this works or not. So I also see that Director Bothwell has sent a proxy vote there, so of her choice of option 2. So if there's no other discussion on it, then we can, I guess, motion for what I think is what the board's decision is. Yes, Director Symington.
I was just gonna get the ball rolling.
Okay, I love that proactiveness. Okay, so let me help you get the ball rolling then. Can I have a motion on the table for the board to adopt a new system of first past the post? Or an option 2 for the fall special by-election. Motion by Director Vale, seconded by Director Shandok. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor? Director Bothwell? If she's not back, well, she did send her proxy as approving of option 2, so I'll mark that as approved. Director Shandok?
I approve.
Director Del Giudice?
I approve.
I'm sorry, I did see your hand up, Director Vale.
Yeah, Director Bothwell is here, so you might want to get an actual vote from her since proxy votes aren't permitted.
Okay. Director Symington?
I approve.
Director Vale?
I approve.
Vice Chair Sneedy?
I approve.
Director Bothwell, are you still back here or no? I'm only assuming that this proxy vote is okay because she is.
Actually,
she's
yes,
in the
she is
meeting.
still in the meeting. Yeah.
That's the thing, and I assume that it's a washroom break, which I think is okay. So then the motion passes unanimous consent. Then moving on to the proposed fall meeting time schedules. So we have a couple of options. So the meetings for the fall semester will be bi-weekly. So no longer 1 meeting per month, but to be honest, we've been having 2 meetings per month anyway. So I mean, I feel like this is not a big difference in schedules for everyone. We have a couple options. Unfortunately, are all late in the night just to accommodate to a couple of our directors who are working, I guess, full-time currently doing their co-ops or internships, as well as the night classes of other directors. So I guess we have a discussion which option people prefer. Director Vale.
In my view, I think the most sensible option, and I'm also cognizant, of our full-time, board resources like the executive director and others who probably have families and stuff that probably, and just everyone in general, I think, and even for guest speakers, probably realistically Wednesday or Friday, I think are the more sensible options. Like in terms of the time, like I just think 10 o'clock's too late. So I think Wednesday probably would be the better option.
Yeah. And just to answer your question there, in my experience, I did in my first year on the board, we did do Tuesday 10 p.m. meetings. It was very fun. I'm sure Phil remembers that so much. And if there were guest speakers, I guess emergency meeting had to be called to accommodate for them. So I'm just putting that on the record. Yes, Director Symington.
I feel as though I can confidently speak for everyone when I say we would rather have a later meeting on Wednesday than Friday. I'm not sure if anyone wants to make their unpopular opinion heard, but I really feel strongly that I'm not going to see much opposition in that request.
Permit me to state a joke, but my finance professor said that he always likes to make the homework due late night on Friday to keep the students in and safe, from
Well,
harm.
he's
Okay, Director Vela, is that your hand up for another?
I'll make a motion that we set our fix our regular meeting times to be Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. starting the week of September 13th.
September 15th. Okay, so I see that there's a very big consensus on Wednesday. In terms of the frequency of the fall meeting schedule, I just want to keep everyone mindful that if we do start on the week of the 13th, so that would be, the meeting will then be on the 15th. The next bi-weekly one will then be on the 29th. But then, however, the following week will be the reading week. So we'll be unable to have, we'll only have 1 meeting according to October. So if we did want to do the start on the week of the 13th, we would have to stagger the meetings. So then make a meeting on the 16th. So then, so if that makes sense to everyone, so then we don't have just a month where it's only one meeting. If we do that, then I believe that option one is very much permissible. Vice Chair Sneed, I did see your hand up.
Thank you. Two quick points. First one is next Wednesday, or sorry, Wednesday the 15th is a Jewish holiday, so I will not be able to attend that meeting if there is one. The second point that I would like to make is that if we are going to have these meeting times on Wednesday at 8 or 8:30, I personally don't have a problem with it. The only thing is we're going to probably maybe get new directors anyways. So should we include that in like the description, say that they should have that time available, or should we kind of just go until we have a full board and then set meeting times? Just two thoughts.
No, that's a very excellent question. I think that it's very important, I guess, in our marketing to let people know that the meetings will probably be late. But the meetings can be changed, given new schedules, but unfortunately, given everyone's schedule, I really don't see that being a possibility, just due to the time differences of one of our directors, as well as the fact that some directors are working, and some directors like myself and Director Singleton have duties on certain nights. So it's not a very it's a very small windows of opportunity, but I think that's a very important thing to keep note of. But I think it is my recommendation to the board to have at least some sort of structure now, so that everyone can like set that into their calendars, and then we don't have to do all this like ad hoc nonsense of like waiting for when the next meeting is going to be, like what just happened, what had to happen, and why we had this 10:15 p.m. meeting today. Hopefully that answers your question, Vice Chair Sneed.
It does. Thank you. Wednesday nights should work, given that I work
Is it
Thursdays
possible to
at 5 a.m.
Okay, 5 a.m.
Well, yeah, if we have meetings on Wednesday at 8
Yeah.
or 8:30, the chances of me getting shifted on Wednesdays, if I have work Thursday at 5 a.m. are pretty slim. So that's great
okay.
timing.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh my goodness. For a second, I thought that you were saying like suggesting to have meetings at 5 a.m. I was like,
No.
My apologies.
It's only the 15th that doesn't work for me.
Okay, that's not a problem at all. We can probably work around that. By chance, not to make this meeting. Okay, so actually, I guess we can just get straight to the motion. So sorry, my apologies, discussion. So does the board want to go with the 13th option? Or do we want to just simply go straight to the 22nd and avoid all that nonsense? And then have maybe some sort of another emergency meeting next week to effectively what we're going to do anyways on the Monday. Director Vale?
Yeah, I guess this is like I want to be respectful here of Vice Chair Sneedy. Obviously, his like the holiday there, but at the same time, like, and I'm not like I don't know. I think, and so I think maybe we push it to the 20th, but we kind of keep it that sort of structure as the 13th. But I think really the whole thing is I think we need to start getting away from these keep calling these emergency things, which I think I'm trying to think of a.
I think that starting on the week of the 20th will be sufficient, because the Monday, or at least not the Monday, or any time but before the Monday on the week basically of the 13th, essentially speaking, we will have an emergency meeting to just quickly approve the elections policy. And I doubt that there should be any big updates, because we kind of really discussed them all now tonight, right? And then we can save the board report on the outcome of all week for the 22nd with the president and the executive director. So yes, Director Vale.
So I'll make a motion that we do Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. starting on the week of September 20th.
Perfect. Seconded by Director Bothwell. All those in. Oh, sorry. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor, Director Bothwell?
I absolutely approve.
I love that enthusiasm. Director Shandok,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director Singleton,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Motion passed unanimous consent. Going to final agenda item, which is the one that I amended, which is the board ad hoc committee. So as I said, that we're missing one member. So I'd like to open up the board ad hoc social media committee. I'd like to open up the floor for nominations to fill one seat regardless of campus. Director Vale.
Just a quick question. How many do we have on the committee and who do we have on the committee already?
We
Off
have
the
three
top of my head.
members. The members are myself as the chair of the board. We have Director Bothwell. We also have Director May and Director Shandok. So yeah. To answer the question, the executive director there, not half the board was not on the committee, but we have lost, I believe, 2 members because they resigned from the board. So we have had one director who's been working in a non-official capacity. So this is pretty much just make it official that they are on the committee, so we can get through that governance hiccup right there. So the floor is open to nominations. Director Bothwell,
I officially nominate Frankie.
Director Deltriche, do you stand?
Yes, I do.
Is there any other nominations? No one wants to have an election tonight. I love it. Perfect. Okay, as I see no more nominations, motion on table to acclaim Director Del Giudice to the board social media ad hoc committee. Motion by, I believe, Director Vale, seconded by Director Bothwell. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? As I see none. All those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shandok,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I abstain.
okay, Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Motion passes 5-0 to 1. Welcome onto the committee, Director Del Giudice. He will speak upon his updates on another time. Next, moving on to new business announcements. Does anyone have anything new to say to the board? Anything?
Good luck on your first day of classes tomorrow, y'all.
It's incredible. I didn't think we would actually be here on campus. I'm not gonna lie. Executive Director Champagne.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that Shiner M is happening on both campuses this coming Saturday. So please keep
I
an eye
bought
out
their
for that,
burger
and
today. It was really
There you
good,
go.
guys. Donate money to them. It's a great cause, you know. Okay, awesome. As I see no other business announcements, I can get a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Director Vale, seconded by Director Bothwell. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? Executive Director Champagne, I'm assuming that your hand is still up, or would you like to say something else? Oh, okay.
nope,
perfect.
I'm good. I was too busy typing. Good night, everyone.
Okay, that's very sweet of you. I really appreciate everyone for this late night meeting. But now all those in favor, Director Bothwell.
I approve.
Excellent. Director Shandok,
I approve.
Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve. Have a good
Right.
night, everybody.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Okay, awesome. Motion is passed unanimous consent. Have a great night, everybody.
Night, guys.